Ethan stood at the edge of the training grounds, the wind brushing across his face. He looked around at the crowd of alien spectators, their bodies tall, sleek, and strong. Their eyes, sharp and bright, were fixed on the humans gathered below. Ethan's stomach tightened. He had heard the whispers, the quiet snickers. Humans were weak, fragile, and unworthy of attention in this alien colony. To survive here, one had to be fast, strong, clever, and fearless. Humans were none of these, or so they said. Ethan flexed his fingers and tried to calm his mind. He had trained as best as he could. He had practiced every day, learning to move quickly, to focus, to survive. Yet, as he looked at the towering alien warriors beside him, it seemed almost hopeless. Their limbs were long, their reflexes sharp, and their senses far superior to his own. He was small in comparison, his muscles unimpressive, and his form awkward. "Ha! Look at the human," a tall alien sneered. Its voice was a low hum vibrating through the air. "Does he really think he can compete with us?" Ethan swallowed hard but said nothing. He knew that words could not convince them. Actions could. And today he would show them. The arena stretched out before him. It was not just a field. It was a living test. Twisting paths, hidden traps, and strange creatures made the area dangerous for even the most experienced hunters. The alien colony had designed it to separate the strongest from the rest. Today, humans were allowed to compete, but most aliens expected them to fail immediately. "Step forward, human," a voice called. Ethan turned to see Kale, the top huntsman of the colony. Kale was a legend, known for never losing a hunt and always outsmarting his opponents. His movements were smooth, almost effortless, and his eyes held a quiet intelligence that made others tremble. Ethan's heart raced. This was the moment of truth. Kale's gaze was calm, but it carried a weight of authority that could unnerve anyone. "You wish to compete?" Kale asked. His voice was firm but not unkind. Ethan nodded. "Yes, sir. I want to try." The aliens around them laughed. Some jeered openly. "He will fall in the first round," one said. "Humans are weak," another added. Ethan ignored them. He focused on the ground, the path ahead, and the small voice inside him that said he could do it. Humans had survived the impossible before. Maybe, just maybe, he could survive this too. The first challenge began. Participants had to climb a series of jagged cliffs, leap over pits, and balance across narrow beams. Ethan took a deep breath and moved forward. His first step felt shaky. The cliffs seemed taller than they had in practice. The pits looked endless. Every alien around him leapt with ease, their powerful legs carrying them effortlessly. Ethan hesitated. He almost stopped, but then he remembered why he was here. Not to impress them, not to prove them wrong for their ridicule, but to prove to himself that humans were capable of more than anyone believed. Step by step he climbed. He stumbled. He fell once, scraping his knee on the rough stone. Pain shot through him, but he ignored it. Rising again, he pressed on. He found a rhythm, slow but steady. His small size allowed him to slip into narrow spaces the aliens could not reach. He discovered shortcuts they ignored, paths that let him move faster without the brute strength the aliens relied on. When he finally reached the first checkpoint, the aliens were stunned. Ethan's chest heaved with exhaustion, sweat dripping down his forehead. He looked back at the towering figures still maneuvering the cliffs. He had done it not through strength but through careful observation, patience, and human determination. Next came the pit crossing challenge. Huge gaps separated the floating platforms, and most aliens launched themselves with sheer power. Ethan measured each distance, tested the edges, and ran across the beams with precision. He didn't jump as far or as high as the aliens. Instead, he used momentum and balance using techniques he had invented himself. For the first time, some of the spectators murmured in surprise. Kale's eyes followed him closely. There was no mockery there, only interest. Kale could see the human thinking differently, not trying to match the aliens' strength, but using what he had in ways they did not expect. By the time Ethan reached the final stage of the course, he was tired and bruised but not defeated. This part was meant to test teamwork. He had to cooperate with another competitor to complete a puzzle, while avoiding moving obstacles. Most aliens assumed he would fail, leaving him behind. But Ethan's mind raced with ideas. He communicated calmly and clearly, suggesting strategies, pointing out hazards, and guiding his partner. Together, they completed the puzzle. Ethan's partner, a young alien hunter, nodded with respect. "You think differently," the alien said. "Humans are not weak. Maybe Clever, Ethan smiled. That was all the reward he needed. But the crowd was still skeptical. They were not yet ready to accept that a human could challenge the status quo. Finally, the day ended with the announcement of the preliminary results. Ethan's performance placed him in the top half, ahead of many aliens who had relied solely on strength. The audience murmured in surprise. Some aliens exchanged nervous glances. Kale stepped forward. "Human," he said, his deep voice echoing across the arena. "Your methods are unusual. You are not like the others. You see, hunting is not only about strength. It is about understanding, patience, and courage. You have shown these qualities today. Remember them. They will guide you in the hunts to come." Ethan's heart pounded. Kale had acknowledged him, not as a weak human, but as a competitor. Someone who could survive, someone who could adapt, someone who could stand alongside them. As the crowd dispersed, Ethan stayed behind, looking at the arena with renewed determination. He knew the real challenges were still ahead. The main hunt, the ultimate test, it was coming, and it would be harder than anything he had faced. But he no longer feared it. He had proven to himself that humans could achieve what others thought impossible. Night fell over the colony. The alien sky glowed with strange colors and distant stars shimmered above. Ethan sat by a small fire, cleaning his equipment and reviewing the day in his mind. Every misstep, every success, every moment of doubt, he stored it all, learning from it, preparing for the next stage. In that quiet moment, he made a silent promise. "I will show them what humans are capable of. Not through power, but through heart, mind, and courage. I will earn my place among them." Somewhere nearby, Kale watched from the shadows. He saw Ethan's determination, his cleverness, and his refusal to give up. A small smile crossed Kale's face. This human was unusual. Perhaps, just perhaps, he was someone Kale could respect, maybe even call brother someday. Ethan did not know it yet, but the journey ahead would change the way the aliens viewed humans forever. And he would be the one to prove it, one step at a time. The morning sun rose over the alien colony, painting the sky in streaks of gold and violet. Ethan stood at the edge of the training arena, stretching his arms and legs. Today, the real challenges began. The preliminary tests had shown him that he was not as weak as everyone thought. Yet the path ahead was far more difficult. Aliens bustled around the arena, their long limbs moving with precision and grace. They prepared for the next set of trials. Agility courses, obstacle tests, and strategy challenges designed to separate the clever from the careless, the patient from the impatient. Humans, in the eyes of the alien spectators, were still seen as fragile. Many whispered that Ethan would fail in the coming tests. Some even smiled at the thought of watching him stumble. Ethan ignored them. He had learned that their doubts meant nothing. What mattered was his own focus, his own abilities. "Human," Kale's voice cut through the morning air. Ethan looked up to see the top Huntsman approaching. Kale's presence was commanding yet calm like the eye of a storm. "Today will be different. You will face challenges that test more than your body. You must use your mind, your instincts, and your patience. Watch closely, learn quickly, and act carefully. That is how a hunt is won." Ethan nodded. "I understand, sir." Kale's gaze lingered on him for a moment before he turned to observe the other competitors. Ethan felt a small surge of pride. Kale had acknowledged him again, not as a weak human, but as someone who could survive, someone worth watching. The first challenge of the day was a maze of shifting platforms. Each platform moved up and down, sometimes disappearing entirely, forcing participants to think quickly and adapt. Most aliens relied on their strength, leaping boldly from platform to platform. Ethan's first attempt nearly ended in failure. He misjudged a moving platform and tumbled, scraping his palms. Pain shot through his arms, but he quickly pushed himself upright. He took a deep breath and studied the platforms. Unlike the aliens who assumed brute force would carry them through, Ethan began noticing patterns. The platforms followed predictable sequences, moving rhythmically. By observing carefully, he could time his jumps and movements to land safely. Step by step, he advanced. Slowly, carefully, he progressed while the faster, stronger aliens stumbled when they ignored the patterns. For the first time, murmurs spread through the spectators. A human, using intelligence and surviving. Ethan reached the end of the maze, exhausted but victorious. He barely had time to catch his breath before the next trial began. This one tested strategy and perception. Competitors were placed in a simulated forest filled with hidden sensors. invisible obstacles and deceptive pathways. They had to reach a designated point without triggering any alarms. The aliens moved quickly, trusting their strength and agility to carry them through. Many triggered alarms immediately, their failures echoing across the forest. Ethan moved slowly, observing the ground and listening to the subtle hum of the sensors. He relied on his human intuition, a sense honed by generations of surviving in unexpected environments. He noticed small differences in the terrain: a leaf slightly bent, a stone out of place, a shadow that didn't match the movement above it. Each observation guided his steps. Slowly but surely he made his way through the forest, careful, patient, precise. He reached the endpoint without triggering a single sensor. Kyle, watching from above, raised an eyebrow. Ethan was different. Not stronger, not faster, but cleverer. He thought like no alien had before. The next challenge tested teamwork. Participants were paired and given a puzzle involving the movement of heavy objects to reach a target zone. Aliens initially paired with humans seemed annoyed. Most expected the humans to slow them down. Ethan's partner, a young alien named Ryler, glared at him. "Don't slow me down," Ryler said sharply. Ethan smiled calmly. "I'll do my best. Let's work together." They examined the puzzle together. The aliens immediately tried lifting the objects with brute force. It failed. Ethan suggested using a lever system, a principle humans had used for centuries. Ryler hesitated but allowed Ethan to try. Step by step they moved the objects using leverage and strategy, rather than raw strength. Slowly the path cleared and they reached the target zone. Ryler's expression softened into a mixture of surprise and admiration. "You think differently," he admitted. "I've never seen anyone approach this puzzle like that." Ethan shrugged. "Sometimes you just need to see the problem from another angle." By the end of the day, Ethan had passed more challenges than expected. He was bruised, tired, and his muscles ached, but he was smiling. Every success, no matter how small, was a victory not just for him, but for all humans watching. During the evening, Kale approached him again. "Human," he said, his deep voice calm. "You have qualities that most of the participants lack. You are patient, observant, and clever. These are strengths that cannot be measured by speed or power. Remember this: a hunt is not about being the strongest. It is about understanding your environment, predicting outcomes, and using your mind as much as your body. You are learning this quickly." Ethan felt a surge of pride. Kale had praised him, and not as a weak human, but as a competitor, someone capable of surviving the hunt. The night was quiet, with only the distant hum of alien city lights in the background. Ethan sat alone, reviewing the day in his mind. He thought about the maze, the forest, the puzzle, and each time he had succeeded it was because he had observed, adapted, and acted with care. Strength alone would not have saved him. Humans had something different, something the aliens underestimated. He closed his eyes and imagined the coming hunt, the ultimate test. If he could survive the challenges today, perhaps he could survive what was coming. Perhaps he could finally prove that humans were not weak. Sleep came slowly, filled with dreams of moving platforms, hidden sensors, and clever solutions. In those dreams, he saw himself standing tall among the aliens, not as a human to be pitied, but as an equal, respected, and recognized. Morning arrived once again, and with it, the next stage of trials. Ethan stretched and took a deep breath. He was ready. The challenges ahead would be harder, yes, but he had learned the most important lesson. Humans may not have the physical power of these aliens, but they had something just as important: ingenuity, courage, and determination. As he stepped into the training grounds, Kyle watched silently from above. There was a spark of respect in his eyes, something rarely given to a human. Ethan had survived the first day not by brute strength, but by thinking, observing, and never giving up. And Kale knew that the real test was coming soon, the hunt that would determine who truly belonged among the hunters. For the first time, Ethan felt it, the possibility that humans could not only survive, but thrive even in a world that did not expect them to. He smiled, feeling a quiet confidence he had never known before. Tomorrow the hunt would begin, and he would face it not as a weak human, but as a competitor, a thinker, and someone who refused to be dismissed. The arena was quiet that morning, a tension hanging in the air like the calm before a storm. Ethan stood at the edge of the forest, the starting point for the colony's grand hunting competition. Today, it would no longer be about simple obstacles or puzzles. Today, the participants would track a legendary creature, one said to be clever, fast, and nearly impossible to catch. Around him, alien hunters moved with confidence. They were tall, fast, and strong, their eyes sharp and their senses finely tuned. Many glanced at Ethan, some with amusement, some with doubt. A human? One whispered. He has no chance. Ethan ignored them. He had learned that their words had no power over him. What mattered was his focus, his mind, and his ability to adapt. Humans had a way of turning challenges into opportunities. Today he would prove that again. Kale's voice echoed across the arena. The hunt begins now, he said. Remember, the goal is not only to track the creature, but to outsmart it. Observe, think, and act carefully. Strength alone will not save you. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward. The forest loomed ahead, dense and full of unknown dangers. Strange plants rustled as the wind passed, and the distant cries of hidden creatures filled the air. Most aliens sprinted ahead, confident that their power and speed would carry them through. Ethan moved slowly, deliberately, his eyes scanning, his mind calculating every step. The first part of the hunt tested tracking skills. Participants had to follow subtle signs left by the creature: broken branches, faint footprints, unusual movements in the foliage. Aliens relied on their keen eyesight and speed, dashing from one clue to another. Ethan, however, used observation and patience. He noticed details that others overlooked. A leaf slightly bent in the wrong direction, a faint disturbance in the soil, a tiny scratch on a rock. Step by step, he followed the trail, careful not to disturb it. Slowly, the creature led him deeper into the forest, and he realized this was more than a simple chase. It was a puzzle. Each clue had a pattern, and each movement of the creature hinted at its next steps. The other participants stumbled. Some moved too quickly and missed the subtle hints. Others became trapped in natural obstacles, relying on brute force to push through only to fail. Ethan, by contrast, advanced steadily. His human instincts, combined with his careful thinking, allowed him to navigate the forest with precision. Hours passed. Ethan's legs ached. His palms were scratched from moving through thorny bushes, and sweat ran down his forehead. Yet he did not stop. He knew the creature was intelligent and would try to trick anyone who acted hastily. He had to stay patient. At a clearing, he finally caught sight of it, a sleek, shimmering creature with large eyes that seemed almost to study him in return. It was faster than any alien hunter, its movements precise and graceful. Most participants froze in awe or fear, but Ethan stood still, studying it carefully. He noticed its patterns, the rhythm of its movement, the way it reacted to sound and motion. Instead of rushing forward, Ethan devised a plan. He remembered the tools he had learned to use during training: small nets, traps, and a knowledge of leverage. He did not plan to overpower the creature. He planned to outthink it. He carefully set up a small diversion using a lightweight net and a reflective surface. The creature approached, curious. Ethan held his breath, watching every twitch of its body. As it stepped onto the trigger point, the net gently dropped, catching the creature without harming it. Ethan had succeeded, not with speed or strength, but with patience, strategy, and intelligence. The alien crowd gasped. Many hunters had failed, yet the human had outsmarted the creature. Kale's eyes narrowed, a spark of admiration appearing in them. This human was unusual. He did not fight like an alien, but he thought like a true huntsman. The next stage of the hunt required participants to navigate treacherous terrain while avoiding natural hazards: deep rivers, steep cliffs, and sudden drop-offs. Aliens charged forward, trusting their physical strength. Many slipped, fell, or became trapped in narrow passages. Ethan, however, moved cautiously. He used ropes, branches, and small tools to create safe paths. He balanced, jumped, and climbed using techniques humans had developed for centuries. As he progressed, he noticed Kyle observing him from a distance. The huntsman's usual stoic expression was unreadable, but Ethan felt something like respect emanating from him. Kyle had seen many competitors in his lifetime, and yet this human was different. He was clever, adaptable, and unafraid to use his mind in ways no alien ever had. By midday, Ethan had advanced farther than most participants. He paused near a riverbank, looking at the fast-flowing water. Ahead lay a series of stepping stones, slick and uneven. Aliens leapt without caution, many slipping into the cold current. Ethan studied the stones, calculating his weight distribution and timing each step carefully. Slowly, carefully, he crossed without a single misstep. The final part of the hunt was a direct confrontation with the creature. Participants had to guide it to a capture zone, but the creature was clever, using misdirection, speed, and intelligence to evade capture. Many hunters chased recklessly, exhausting themselves and failing. Ethan, however, relied on observation and patience. He predicted the creature's moves, using the environment to guide it subtly toward the capture zone. Step by step, he maneuvered the creature without causing it harm. It was like a dance and a test of skill, intelligence, and understanding. When the creature finally entered the capture zone, the judges signaled success. Ethan had completed the hunt. He was exhausted, his clothes torn and his body bruised, but he had done what few could achieve. The alien crowd erupted in astonishment. Whispers spread. A human had completed the hunt. Many could not believe it. Kale stepped forward, his expression serious yet filled with something rare: respect. "You have done what most cannot," Kale said, his deep voice carrying across the arena. "You did not rely on strength, speed, or force. You relied on understanding, patience, and intelligence. These are qualities of a true huntsman. You have earned my respect." Ethan's heart raced. Kale had spoken words no human had ever heard in this colony. Respect, recognition, not pity, not amusement, but respect. Kale approached and extended his hand. "Human," he said, his voice firm but warm. "Today you have proven that strength is not the only measure of a hunter. You have the mind and heart of one. Perhaps in time I can call you brother." Ethan's eyes widened. He took Kale's hand, shaking it firmly. That single word, brother, meant more than any trophy, more than any prize. It was acknowledgement, acceptance, and equality. As the sun set over the colony, Ethan stood at the edge of the arena, looking at the forest he had conquered. He felt a quiet pride, knowing he had not only survived the hunt but had proven something far greater. That humans, though small and underestimated, could achieve the impossible through cleverness, courage, and determination. Kale joined him, standing silently for a moment. "You have potential, human," he said. "The hunt is only the beginning. There is much more to learn. You will need every skill, every lesson, and every ounce of courage for the challenges ahead." Ethan nodded. He was ready. The forest had tested him and he had emerged victorious, but the journey was far from over. He would continue to face challenges, each more difficult than the last, each a chance to prove that humans were not weak. That night, Ethan prepared his gear and reviewed the day in his mind. Every step, every observation, every decision had mattered. Every moment of patience and cleverness had brought him here. He closed his eyes, imagining the future hunts, the challenges that awaited, and the possibility that humans could stand as equals among the galaxy's finest hunters. For the first time, he felt a deep sense of confidence. He was no longer the weak human everyone had dismissed. He was a competitor, a thinker, and perhaps one day a huntsman worthy of the title Kale had hinted at. The stars above twinkled, distant and bright. Ethan smiled, knowing that he had begun a journey not only to survive but to thrive. The hunt had begun, and he was ready to face it step by step, proving that humans were capable of far more than anyone had imagined. The sun rose over the alien colony, casting long shadows across the arena. Today was not a practice, not a simple challenge. Today was the ultimate test, a final stage designed to push every participant to their limits. And for Ethan, it would be unlike anything he had faced before. The judges announced the rules. Participants would be paired, working in teams to navigate a complex landscape filled with puzzles, traps, and an intelligent creature that resisted capture at every turn. The catch? Success required both brains and brawn, strategy and courage working in perfect harmony. Ethan glanced around, and to his surprise, he was paired with Kale himself. The top huntsman, the legend of the colony, would be his partner. The aliens whispered among themselves, some skeptical, others curious. Kale's reputation was unmatched. To be paired with him was an honor and a challenge. Kale studied Ethan carefully. "Human," he said, his tone calm yet commanding. "This will test everything you have learned. You must think fast, act wisely, and trust your instincts. I will not hold back, and neither should you." Ethan nodded. "I'm ready, sir. I'll do my best." The arena before them was vast. Twisting cliffs, rushing rivers, dense forests, and moving platforms stretched in every direction. In the distance, the elusive creature they had tracked before waited, watching, testing their skills. Their task was to guide it to a safe zone without harming it, avoiding natural obstacles and solving intricate puzzles along the way. Kale moved first, demonstrating his skill and experience. He leapt across narrow beams with grace, calculated jumps, and precise timing. Ethan followed, careful not to fall behind. It was immediately clear that Kale relied on instinct and training, while Ethan relied on observation and strategy. Their methods were different, yet they complemented each other. The first obstacle was a series of rotating platforms above a deep canyon. Aliens had tried to cross individually, many failing. Kale moved confidently, timing each step perfectly. Ethan hesitated at first, but then he noticed something Kale had not. A sequence in the rotation that allowed him to move faster by anticipating the pattern. He whispered his observation to Kale. Kale paused, considering the suggestion. Then, with a subtle nod, he adjusted his movements to match Ethan's timing. Together they crossed safely. For the first time, Kale realized that this human could see solutions in ways no alien ever had. Next came the forest of deceptive paths. Hidden traps were everywhere. Pits, tripwires, and false trails meant to confuse the hunters. Kyle relied on his sharp senses, detecting many of the traps instinctively. Ethan relied on his keen observation. He noticed small signs, broken twigs, disturbed soil, faint scratches on tree bark. By combining their approaches, Kale's instincts and Ethan's careful reasoning, they avoided nearly every trap. The alien crowd watched in awe. No team had navigated this part so efficiently. Ethan's human intuition, paired with Kale's skill, created a synergy few had expected. Then came the puzzle challenge. A massive stone gate blocked their path with no obvious way to open it. Symbols and mechanisms covered its surface, requiring logic, coordination, and quick thinking. Kale tried several approaches, but the gate would not budge. Ethan studied it carefully. "The symbols are not random," he said. "They form a sequence. If we press them in order, it will open." Kyle glanced at him. "Explain." Ethan pointed to the markings. "See these lines? They match the creature's path. Each step corresponds to a symbol. Follow the trail and the gate will respond." Kale's eyes narrowed. It was clever. Using Ethan's observation, they pressed the symbols in the correct sequence. With a deep rumble, the gate slowly opened. Kyle nodded, impressed. "You see things others miss, human." "Good work." Beyond the gate, the creature awaited. It was alert, cautious, and clever. Many hunters had failed to guide it, exhausting themselves in frustration. Ethan and Kale approached slowly. Kale's presence commanded respect, but Ethan's calm confidence reassured the creature. He moved with gentle precision, guiding it with subtle gestures and calculated steps. The creature tested them at every turn, darting, hiding, and attempting to escape. Kale prepared to use his strength to intercept it, but Ethan suggested a different approach. "If we block its path gently and guide it slowly, it will follow without resistance." Kale hesitated. Then, seeing the human's determination and logic, he trusted him. Step by step, together, they maneuvered the creature toward the safe zone. It was a delicate dance of observation, timing, and patience. Neither brute force nor haste worked, only careful coordination and understanding. At one point, the creature darted toward a cliff edge. Kale moved instinctively to intercept it, but Ethan shouted, "Wait! Use the ledge below to guide it safely." Kale paused, then followed Ethan's suggestion. The creature leapt onto the ledge and continued along the intended path. Kale's respect for the human grew. He had underestimated Ethan's insight before, but now he could see the true value of his partner. As they approached the final stretch, a series of moving platforms and narrow bridges required perfect timing. Kale and Ethan moved together, synchronizing their steps, predicting the creature's reactions and adjusting their pace. Every move was deliberate. Every step counted. Finally, the creature entered the safe zone. The judges signaled success. The alien crowd erupted into cheers, many in disbelief that a human had achieved what most thought impossible. Kale placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You have done well, human," he said, his voice calm but filled with admiration. Not many could have guided the creature so skillfully. "You are clever, patient, and courageous. Today you have proven yourself." Ethan's chest swelled with pride. He had faced the ultimate test. And he had succeeded not by matching the alien's strength, but by using his mind, heart, and intuition. Cale's gaze softened. "Perhaps it is time," he said quietly, "to call you brother." Ethan looked at him in surprise. The word carried immense weight among the aliens. It was a symbol of respect, equality, and honor. To be called brother by Cale meant that Ethan had earned recognition as a true hunter, a peer, and someone worthy of respect. "Thank you, sir," Ethan said, his voice steady. "I am honored," Cale nodded. "Remember this, strength alone is not enough. A true hunter must combine wisdom, patience, courage, and understanding. You have all these qualities. Never forget them." As the sun set, painting the sky with brilliant colors, Ethan and Cale stood together looking at the arena. They had faced the ultimate test, and together, they had succeeded. For the first time, Ethan felt the full weight of his achievements. He had not only proven himself to the colony, but had gained the respect of the greatest huntsman among them. Ethan knew the journey was not over. More challenges awaited, but today had shown him that humans could thrive even in a world that underestimated them. He had learned to trust himself, to think differently, and to face challenges with courage. And with Cale's acknowledgement, he had gained a mentor, an ally, and a friend. That night, Ethan prepared his gear for the next stage. The stars twinkled above the colony, distant and bright, a reminder that the universe was vast and full of challenges. He smiled, feeling a quiet confidence that he had never known before. Humans were capable of more than anyone believed, and he was ready to prove it, again and again. Tomorrow he would continue the journey, stronger, wiser, and more determined. Today he had learned that true strength lies not in muscle, but in heart, mind, and perseverance. And with that knowledge, Ethan knew that no challenge was too great for him to face. The colony had never seen a day like this. The sun shone brightly over the arena, reflecting off the glass-like surfaces of distant towers and casting long shadows across the plains. Today was not only the conclusion of the great hunting challenge, but also a day that would be remembered in history, the day humans earned true recognition among the alien hunters. Ethan stood beside Cale, his mentor, friend, and now ally. The challenges they had faced together had proven more than physical skill. They had shown the strength of the human mind and heart. Yet today would be different. Today, Ethan would step forward as a representative of all humans, and the entire colony would witness what one human could achieve when determination met ingenuity. The final task had been announced the night before: a grand expedition through the Eclipse forest, a massive area dense with ancient trees, hidden creatures, and natural puzzles. The mission was not only to track and guide a legendary creature, but also to complete a series of obstacles designed to test collaboration, strategy, and quick thinking. Most aliens thought that pairing humans with themselves was a courtesy, or a sure way to fail. Ethan knew otherwise. "Are you ready, Ethan?" Cale asked, his eyes calm and steady. "I'm ready, sir," Ethan replied, tightening the straps on his equipment. "We'll do this together." The forest ahead was alive with sound, rustling leaves, distant calls of creatures, and the wind weaving through the towering trees. Ethan moved with careful steps, scanning every detail. He had learned over the past days that observation often mattered more than speed. Small signs, broken twigs, displaced leaves, faint scratches on tree trunks, could guide a hunter through challenges that brute force could not solve. Cale followed closely, silently acknowledging Ethan's careful methods. The other alien hunters moved quickly, confident in their superior strength. Many stumbled or became entangled in the clever natural traps set within the forest. Ethan, however, proceeded steadily, using human ingenuity to navigate safely and efficiently. The first obstacle was a river with fast-moving currents and narrow stepping stones. Aliens had often tried to leap across, relying on strength only to slip into the water. Ethan studied the river, noticing patterns in the currents and the placement of the stones. He found a path that allowed him to move carefully yet swiftly. Cale observed quietly. "Interesting," he said. "You see things differently, human." "Clever thinking," Ethan smiled faintly. "Observation is just as important as strength, sir." They crossed the river successfully, setting an example for other hunters. Some aliens, impressed, followed Ethan's method, realizing that patience and careful study could prevent failure. Further into the forest, the legendary creature awaited. It had grown wary of hunters and would attempt every trick to escape. Many had tried to outpace it, relying on speed and force, but the creature was clever. Ethan knew that confrontation alone would not work. It required understanding, patience, and strategy. As they approached, Ethan gestured gently. "We must guide it, not chase it," he said. "If we rush, we'll only startle it," Kale nodded. Together, they moved slowly, reading the creature's behavior and anticipating its reactions. The creature paused, watching Ethan carefully. Unlike the other hunters, he did not seem threatening. He moved with calm confidence, respecting the creature's intelligence. Step by step, they led it through twisting paths, hidden bridges, and shallow streams, always careful not to startle it. Each challenge along the way tested not only their physical ability, but also their judgment, patience, and communication. Ethan directed with insight, Kale acted with experience, and together they formed a seamless team. At one point, a large chasm blocked their path, with no visible way across. The creature hesitated at the edge. Kale prepared to leap across, but Ethan noticed a series of vines hanging from nearby trees. "Use the vines," he suggested. "The creature can swing across safely and we can follow." Kale raised an eyebrow but trusted Ethan's judgment. Using the vines, they guided the creature across the chasm safely, avoiding potential disaster. Kale's respect for the human grew with every decision that proved correct. The final stretch was a series of narrow, moving platforms above a deep canyon. This challenge had defeated many participants in past hunts. Ethan studied the platforms carefully. "We must move with precision," he said. "Timing and observation are everything." Kale followed his lead, moving deliberately to match Ethan's pace. Step by step they advanced, never rushing, never panicking. When the creature finally stepped onto the final platform, Ethan guided it safely into the capture zone. The crowd erupted in astonishment and applause. Not only had the human succeeded, but he had done so with wisdom and strategy, earning the admiration of everyone watching. Kale stepped forward and placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You have done more than survive," he said. "You have shown us all that humans are capable of more than we believed. Courage, ingenuity, patience, these are qualities that make a hunter great. Today, you have earned the respect of this colony, and today I can proudly call you brother." Ethan's eyes widened. The word carried immense significance. Among the aliens, brother was not just a term, it was a bond, a symbol of equality, honor, and trust. To hear it from Kale meant that he had transcended every doubt cast upon humans. He was no longer an underdog, he was a peer, recognized for his abilities and spirit. "Thank you, sir," Ethan said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I will honor this respect and never forget it." Kale smiled faintly. "It is yours by right, human. Let this be the beginning, not the end. There is much more for humans to achieve here. Today you have opened the door for all of your kind." The crowd began to cheer louder, and Ethan saw the faces of other humans in the audience. Some were young, some older, but all had watched with wonder. They had seen one of their own succeed against the impossible, not by brute strength but by courage, cleverness, and determination. For them, Ethan's victory meant hope. It meant that humans could thrive, be respected, and even lead in a world that had underestimated them. The other alien hunters approached, some hesitant, some curious, but all respectful. Many congratulated Ethan, acknowledging his skill and ingenuity. Whispers spread across the colony. Humans were no longer weak. They were clever, adaptable, and capable of greatness. Ethan felt a quiet pride. This journey had begun with ridicule and doubt, but it ended with recognition, friendship, and achievement. He had faced every challenge, learned every lesson, and proven that humans were not to be dismissed. That evening, Kyle and Ethan stood together overlooking the forest and the arena below. The sun dipped beneath the horizon, painting the sky with brilliant oranges and purples. The air was calm, filled with the soft sounds of nature. "You have a rare gift, human," Kale said. "Not everyone can think, act, and remain calm under pressure. Today you have shown strength in a way that no one expected." Ethan smiled. "I only did what humans do best. We survive, we adapt, and we never give up. Strength is more than muscles. It's courage, heart, and mind," Kyle nodded. "And today the colony has learned that lesson. They will remember it. They will remember you." Ethan looked at the stars above, distant and bright. For the first time he felt a deep sense of belonging, not only among the humans but also among the alien colony. They had doubted him, underestimated him, and yet he had shown them that humans could achieve greatness. As the night settled over the colony, Ethan knew this was only the beginning. There would be more challenges, more hunts, more opportunities to prove humanity's worth. But for now he had earned respect, friendship, and a place among the galaxy's hunters. He had shown that humans were more than what others believed. They were capable, clever, and strong in ways that could change the universe. Kale clapped him on the shoulder one last time. "Brother," he said, the word echoing with honor and recognition. Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth he had never known before. Today, he had not only proven himself but had also changed the way the aliens saw his entire species. The journey had been hard, but it had shown the power of human ingenuity, courage, and heart. And as he looked at the horizon, Ethan knew that humans would continue to rise step by step, challenge by challenge, proving that they belonged not only on this colony, but among the stars.